What's up, fight fans? This is Kurt DeVille with Counterpunch Boxing News, and I have some more news concerning Anthony Joshua. Anthony Joshua was on the hit podcast Sway. He was on Sway's Universe today, or should I say yesterday now, and he had a lot to say about each and every fighter. What's his inspiration? A little bit about himself. You know, a little "This Is Your Life" moment with his babysitter. And it was a good show, and normally Sway and the Breakfast Club, these guys are mostly primarily, in the corner of Deontay Wilder, like Sway did. He was like, hey, Deontay Wilder's my dude. They even replayed what Deontay Wilder said while he was there about Anthony Joshua. Of course, Anthony Joshua took it well. I look at facial expressions when people hear things that are derogatory or something that is said negative about them and how they react facial wise. Do they get the poker face? It's not a lot what you say, it's your tone, right? So, when Anthony Joshua was hearing it, he was just kind of like, you know what I mean? Like he had this stare like he was listening, but it was like a look that he was trying to examine the words. But basically Deontay Wilder was like, hey, he was a coward. He didn't want to fight. He turned down $50 million, yada, yada, yada. So when they stopped that segment, after Deontay called him frauds and stuff like that, because that's what he did. He called him a fraud. He called Deontay Wilder scared, chicken, coward. He did that. So, Sway put that in their ear. And then Anthony Joshua was like, well, hey, that's a great way to build your profile off my name. We ain't fought yet. The offer was there. He didn't blame it on Deontay Wilder. He blamed it on both of them to see where they need to go to get those fights done. But he felt that he had the leverage and, because he had more belts. A belt, in his mind, represented a percentage. Okay, so if you had 4 belts, or should I say 4 major belts, and Joshua has 3, and Deontay Wilder has 1, that alone is a no-brainer if you are only talking about the belts and taking those in consideration. But what Anthony Joshua was talking about is the way that, he fought all these champions to get these belts. So he felt he was entitled for more. And he also broke down like, well, a lot of these fighters really don't take these fights because they're worried these days less about legacy and more about money because they know the risk is high, so they want to get more. They want to get all they can get. You know what I mean? And I think Wilder's already an emotional dude. Let's sprinkle a little arrogance in there because, he's made a couple $100 million a fight maybe. He made that for the first time last year. So let's sprinkle that in there. So that builds arrogance, especially if you're not accustomed to that type of dough. So you're going to start questioning. You're going to start smelling yourself. You're going to start demanding certain things, especially when a fighter of the magnitude of Anthony Joshua makes way more than that. And they were offering to pay him or willing to pay him 3 times more than he's worth. You know what I mean? He broke all that down right there at Sway's Universe. Okay, and this is old news, okay? Because we've done this, regurgitated the same shit over and over again about that particular situation. But Eddie Hearn was there, and he showed the importance of the zone and what the zone means, what is the zone, and got them interested in that and showed them another light, So both of them are good talkers or whatever. They're good at explaining certain things in certain aspects in the sport of boxing. They asked Anthony Joshua also, like, who is his, who did he look up to in a certain time frame? Jack Johnson. You know what I mean? And he knew he passed the test right off the top. He passed the test. He showed that, hey, he didn't just say Muhammad Ali like some fighters do that don't know shit about boxing. He mentioned Jack Johnson and what Jack Johnson had to go through. Jack Johnson kept fighting. Jack Johnson had to fight outside America because they wouldn't even allow the fight here. Jack Johnson dealt with a lot of adversity. Okay, so, he was able to break that down. Him, Archie Moore, those are not guys that you randomly pick, okay? Those are particular guys you watch because you had to see something about them that you liked. Either their story, either video footage, things you heard about them, something that made you cling or connect to these particular fighters. And Anthony Joshua did that. So I have to give him props for that. You know what I mean? Because a lot of people don't know shit about old pastime boxing. They don't know who paved the way for them. And that's another thing that he brought up in the interview. Like, these guys paved the way for me, so I don't have to make it that hard for what they had to do. You know what I'm saying? So that's why he tries to keep it cool and collective during those press conferences. Also, although they really weren't that cool and collective, they were cooler than most people would have took them, aka Dillian White, right? But at the end of the day, he played pretty calm. Okay, so he was basically like, hey, we need to get together. This fight has to happen. And one thing I have to add is, though, I mentioned it in a video earlier. He mentioned that Deontay Wilder talks as everything like it's past tense, like everything's all said and done. No, we need to get this fight made. So again, you got a guy that's pursuing for a fight, and you got another guy that's talking about negotiations from a fight that once was. And I find that real strange if you say someone that don't want to fight and a coward and all that, this and the other. But anyway, the fun stuff to this. The fun stuff was, Sway is a musical influence guy. He brings a lot of talent. Eminem, 50 Cent. He brings a lot of guys on that channel, on that podcast. And, he says you got to be a coyote. You have to show the ways of the coyote. You have to show that you can hustle and flow, And little did he know. You know what he did know? He did his homework. He knew Anthony Joshua had a little skills. You know what I mean? And then, he freestyled and did one hell of a job. And he broke down Anthony Miller, saying he's going to knock his ass out in 8. Please don't hate. You know what I mean? So, I mean, it was nice because it was just like, hey, he was coming with. He just shows that he's about that life. He's about the hip hop culture. He's about a lot of different cultures. You know what I mean? And I believe that he won them over. Because, Deontay didn't do that shit. Tyson Fury didn't do that shit. They ain't freestylers. They didn't know about the freestyle New York boogie down Bronx, lingo that started there with freestyling. Freestyling is a way of expressing yourself through rap and rhyme, and doing it in rhythm. You know what I mean? Ad lib. Okay, so that's how he did it. And, I know he impressed Sway. Even though in Sway, the Deontay's dude, he was able to make an impact where he was. And that's another thing. A guy like Anthony Joshua, well-spoken, has the backing, has the endorsements. You know what I mean? Stay humble. He's not that type of dude that talks a bunch of shit. It's hard not to like him. You know what I mean? So I get what Sway, they were like, hey, man, thank you for coming over. You're a good dude, man. Love you, man. You know what I mean? So it was a good podcast, but it was a way for Anthony Joshua to get out there and to show, especially on certain shows that cater, I feel, to Deontay Wilder. I would love to see his ass on Joe Rogan now, since he's here in America. Why not? You know what I'm saying? So anyway, you guys tell me what you think about Sway's Universe interview with Anthony Joshua. I will leave this link below because I mess with Sway. He's cool. He's cool people. But anyway, you guys tell me what you think about the interview. Please subscribe. You guys been Counterpunched. Peace.